Los Chitauri, según algunas antiguas tradiciones zulúes, serían seres alienígenas de aspecto reptil, y que habrían tenido contacto directo con humanos en el pasado, y que inclusive habrían llevado a cabo sus planes siniestros, y que posiblemente aún lo hagan. El escritor y conferencista David Icke, conocido y cuestionado por difundir en sus obras la idea de que existe una fuerza oculta que controla la humanidad, entrevistó en el año 1998 al chamán africano Credo Mutwa, el cual le transmitió antiguas tradiciones de la sabiduría zulú. Aquí cabe resaltar que Credo Mutwa posee el grado de Zanuzi y chamán zulú, y Zangoma, guardián de la tradición zulú. El conocimiento que el chamán Credo Mutwa entrega en la conversación con David Icke, y que la veremos más adelante, comprende un legado de sabiduría proveniente de etnias africanas, con respecto a la existencia de antiguas y diversas razas, que al parecer son de origen extraterrestre y que llegaron hace siglos a la Tierra. A una de esas razas se les conoce como Chitauri. La palabra Chitauri significa dictadores, los que dictan la ley. En otras palabras, nos dicen en secreto lo que tenemos que hacer. Mutwa los describió como muy altos, de casi 3 metros de altura, y con diferentes clases sociales. La clase alta, la realeza, son descritos con varios cuernos en su cabeza con alas y una cola enorme. Por otro lado, la clase guerrera o clase baja son descritos con grandes ojos de pupilas verticales, cara redonda sin cuernos, sin alas y sin cola. El siguiente texto es un extracto de los testimonios acerca de los seres Chitauri, que recibió David Icke en la entrevista realizada a Credo Mutwa, y dice lo siguiente. Los seres humanos de tiempos pasados no podían hablar, no tenían el don del lenguaje, solo hacían sonidos similares a los que realizan los monos y los mandriles. La gente se comunicaba a través de la mente. La telepatía. Un hombre podía llamar a su esposa pensando en ella, pensando en diversas características de su cuerpo, como su cara y su aroma, su cabello. También hombres y mujeres podían mover objetos con la mente. Podían ver el futuro y el pasado. Podían viajar espiritualmente a diferentes mundos, que sería el desdoblamiento astral. Un cazador salía al matorral y llamaba a los animales. Los animales enviaban al espécimen que estaba más viejo y cansado. Este se arrodillaba ante el hombre para que éste pudiera matarlo rápidamente y llevarse la carne. En aquel entonces no existía la violencia contra los animales. No existía la violencia contra la naturaleza. El hombre pedía comida a la naturaleza. Él se acercaba a uno de los árboles y pensaba en la fruta. El árbol permitía que algunas frutas cayeran al piso, y el hombre las recogía. Hasta que, un día, arriba en el cielo, aparecieron terribles objetos, similares a esferas gigantes que relucían como el oro más brillante, eran tan grandes como las montañas y más. Vinieron del cielo haciendo un ruido tremendo, emanando fuego. De esos enormes objetos salieron otros que parecían platos hondos que lanzaban fuego y ruido, además vientos que levantaban mucho polvo y cegaban la vista. De esos objetos salieron los Chitauri, que según Credo Mutwa, pueden ser criaturas híbridas, humanoides e inteligentes, producto de una antigua realización de ingeniería genética extraterrestre, que tuvo como base ADN de los dinosaurios. En 1980 el paleontólogo americano Daley Russell dio a conocer que podría existir una criatura reptil en la Tierra, y que sería sobreviviente de la época de los dinosaurios. Los Chitauri le dijeron a los humanos, quienes fueron reunidos utilizando la violencia, es decir, rayos de energía en forma de relámpago, que ellos eran los grandes dioses del cielo, y que les darían grandes dones, siempre y cuando los adoraran y aceptaran como sus dioses creadores de todo. También prometieron volver dioses a los humanos, si estos los aceptaban, y los humanos estuvieron de acuerdo. Los Chitauri dieron a los humanos el don del lenguaje, y la gente empezó a hablar con sus bocas cuando anteriormente lo hacían con sus mentes. Ahí surgió un gran problema, porque les fueron entregadas al hombre una infinidad de lenguas al azar, lo que causó que no se pudieran comunicar. La gente se dio cuenta que habían pagado un alto precio, al intercambiar la comunicación mental por la comunicación verbal. Cuando los Chitauri llegaron, los humanos se dividieron, tanto en espíritu como por el lenguaje, y entonces los Chitauri le dieron extraños sentimientos a los seres humanos. Los humanos comenzaron a sentirse inseguros, y empezaron a construir aldeas con fuertes cercas de madera. Empezaron a crear tribus y se crearon las fronteras entre territorios, las cuales se defendían a muerte, originando así las guerras, la codicia y ambición humana. Ellos, los Chitauri, gustan de poner a los humanos contra los humanos. Disfrutan haciéndonos sus esclavos sin que nosotros seamos conscientes de ello. Los Chitauri se alimentan de la energía que los seres humanos le brindamos. Ellos son los causantes de las disputas entre grupos, el miedo y el terror. Cuando una gran masa de personas están enojados o temerosos, los Chitauri se alimentan de esa energía. Ellos se alimentan de lo que llamamos el poder oscuro. Hoy los descendientes del Chitauri utilizan a otros seres como sus siervos, capaces de causar dolor físico y trauma emocional en sus víctimas humanas. Los famosos seres grises son los lacayos y los sirvientes de los Chitauri. Los llamamos mandinga, que significa los que atormentan o torturan. Son criaturas de baja estatura, del tamaño de un pigmeo africano. Sus cabezas son tan grandes como una sandía madura. Tienen brazos y piernas muy delgados. Sus extremidades son muy largas para su cuerpo y sus cuellos muy delgados. A continuación veremos la entrevista realizada por David Faika Credo Mutwa, en donde se transmite el legado de antiguas etnias africanas y que tienen que ver con razas extraterrestres.
Hello and welcome to Africa, this enormous and astonishing continent. South Africa, to be more precise, just a short drive outside Johannesburg. And I'm here to talk to a remarkable man, Credo Mutwa. When I first came to South Africa about 18 months ago, within 2 or 3 days, I was introduced to Credo Mutwa. I'd never heard of him at the time, but from the moment I met him, I didn't stop listening and he didn't stop talking for at least 5 hours. And within the first few minutes, I realized I wasn't just in the presence here of a man of great knowledge, and he's certainly that. I was in the presence of a genius, a unique human being. And Credo Mutwa is without doubt the most incredible man it has been my honor to meet. Credo is what some people around the world call a shaman, and some deeply, deeply ignorant people call a witch doctor. And to give him his official title, he's a Sanusi in the Zulu nation. Sanusi is the carrier, the keeper of the ancient knowledge of so much, including the ancient knowledge of history of Africa, where all this came from, where the people came from, what the truth of history is, instead of the largely nonsensical version of history that we get through the universities and the schools from very, very well-educated professors we have.
So let's start looking then at the force that is the common theme through all this history to the present day that's been manipulating these highly malevolent, highly destructive situations. My own research around the world has certainly focused in on the fact that there is a force, not of this world, shall we say, that is the common theme. What is your experience and your knowledge of an extraterrestrial involvement in the history of Africa?
One of the most secret stories that was revealed to me is about these beings. This story was revealed to me first in Barotsident, then in the country today called Rwanda, once known as Rwanda Burundi. Then I learned about this story at that time on the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro. This is the story, a story you find throughout Africa. There was once a time when the blue sky was invisible, when the whole world was covered with mist, when you could not see the sun as it is now. You only saw it as a splash of white light moving slowly across the sky. At that time, there was an eternal drizzle every day of the year. At that time, people could not see the stars. People only saw the trees growing, trees which were very, very big. There was no desert at that time, only jungle everywhere where you were. At that time, sir, people were what we call in Zulu Ngubili. A human being was both male and female in one body. And out of the sky, one day came terrible objects. They were like gigantic bows made of huge gleaming gold. They were shaped like bows without strings, and they were bigger than the biggest mountains. They came out of the sky bringing great noise, black smoke, and fire with them. And out of those huge objects came them. At that time, human beings could not speak. We had no gift of language at that time. And people had, however, great mental power. A man would go into the bush and, using the power of his mind, actually call out an animal which he wanted to hunt and kill for his children. And the animal would appear and kneel down before the man, and the man would kill the animal and take it home. But when the Chitauri arrived in Africa, they told our people that they were gods and that they were going to give us human beings great gifts on one condition: we had to worship them and accept them as our creators. Some told our people that they were our elder brothers and that this earth had produced them generations ago. And they said they had come back to the green womb of their mother and that they were going to make us into gods. What they did, they created a very strange pair of caves in the land. They dug 2 caves. In one cave was a green light, in another cave was a red light. And they drove human beings into these caves, and each human being had to choose which cave the human being wanted to go into. And those who went into the green cave came out as women, and those who went into the red cave came out as men. And then the talkers, the Chitauri, told our people that now they were perfect. And I was looking for this herb when all of a sudden a bright blue mist fell all around me. It took me some time to react to this strange thing. It was a hot day, and all of a sudden the temperature around me dropped. It was as if I was on the slope of a very cold mountain, but it was a warm day. And then the next moment I was in what appeared to be a metal-lined tunnel, a caving tunnel, and I was lying on what looked like a workbench, a very large workbench of some kind, an iron table which an engineer or somebody working with metal would use for welding and cutting metal upon. But this workbench was very brightly polished, and there I was lying there with my trousers missing and only my khaki shirt, when I saw again through what appeared to be like blue mist a number of moving objects, which at first I thought were dolls. And these objects were moving towards me. I noticed with mild surprise that they were very thin, short, human-like creatures with very, very large melon-shaped heads. The creatures had no noses, like as human beings have. They had only small little holes on either side of where the nose would be, and their mouths were like knife cuts at the bottom of their faces. And these creatures were coming towards me. In color, they were gray, like certain types of fish, and they wore silvery gray garments which reached up to their necks and up to their wrists. I couldn't see whether they were wearing boots or not at that time. And while I was looking at these creatures, I suddenly was aware that something was above me, standing there, and I looked up straight into the face of one of them, a much taller one than the others. And this creature was wearing a garment like a tight-fitting overall without any buttons or anything, which reached up to its neck, but its wrists were bare. I noticed that the creature had very long fingers. Its fingers had extra, and each of its fingers had an extra joint, and it ended in a claw, a black claw like that of a chicken or a certain kind of bird, and that its thumb was not here, but here in the middle of the hand. And this thing was standing above my head and looking down at me, and I was looking at its eyes, which were very strange indeed. It was as if it was wearing plastic goggles over its eyes. I could see its eyes inside these tinted goggles, and it had holes on either side here, but it had no nose as I have. Its jaws were very small, and its mouth was a slit with tiny little scale-like things where its lips should be. And the creature carried a horrible smell on it. I can't describe that smell. It was a metallic, chemically smell, which seemed to combine the smell you would smell when somebody is burning brass or copper, and a very ugly chemical smell, these two smells combined. And this creature was looking down at me. I was frightened, but I could not move. And the next thing I knew was a terrible pain on my left thigh. It was as if somebody had just stabbed me right to the bone. I screamed and I tried to jump away, but my body was inactive. I could not move. I was not tied to any chain. I was not chained to the top of this table. There was no belt tying me, but I could not move my body. And when I looked down at what was happening, I found that one of the shorter creatures had driven something very painful into my left thigh. And then, while I watched, horrified, the creature pulled out this thing, and I saw that it was like a pencil made of shining metal with what appeared to be a flexible cable at the back. And before I could do anything, my head was seized by the creature above me. It caught me on either side of the head like this.
Do you think, Credo, that those senses that you experience, that really heightened sense of everything, of oneness, of whatever, are the very senses that the Chitauri have manipulated out of us?
I do very much. They were senses like no human being possesses. May I add, no human being possesses anymore. It was as if at one time a voice was speaking in my head, a very amazing voice. And after that, my powers of prophecy were intensified. This is what I think. We human beings are holier and more wonderful than we think we are. And I feel we lost something at some time in the course of our development, or shall I say, in the course of our manipulation.